you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Colby and Chip.
We are going down the path of Christian Week.
Yep.
This is Golgotha by W.A.S.P.
Yeah, so apparently like W.A.S.P was not Christian, and then they became Christian.
We've done 2 W.A.S.P songs.
Yeah, we have. And like, I guess like one of them like was a very, like like the Beast or something like that. Like there was like some very provocative songs that they put out. But then apparently they became Christian. I'm not sure. Like that was to my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is according to Becky. Shout out to the big homie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys are a mainstream band, but I guess they evolved and became
I didn't want
Christian.
to put it all on her because I'm like, what if I misunderstood something that she said? You know, I
read what she said.
Oh, okay.
So it's like they kind of got saved later on or became Christians later on. But this song is called Golgotha. This should be very interesting. If you want to check out timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Yep. And if you want to see our family behind the scenes, kids have been making a couple videos. They send them to me and then I put them up on YouTube. You can check those out too.
At what channel?
My Sori Life.
Okay. So this is Golgotha by W.A.S.P.
And go.
Whoa.
Come down for sweat like blood comes down. He clips a shadow now. The sun is gone and sorrows come where it slithers from. Jesus, I need you now. Free me.
so good. That was so good. And I am hypercritical of the Christian ones. Like,
I know.
The minute it starts, I already don't like it, and it hasn't even. But this is next level. Oh, it makes me cry.
Well, it's. I was just looking at the lyrics and some of the imagery. Whoever did the video, shout out to
Oh my word, a wicked good video.
did a damn good job. It. I'm trying to find the words so that they don't come off sounding whatever. But I mean, I just wish listening to the lyrics and looking at the lyrics, and it's one of those things where if you haven't experienced those moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those times with Jesus where you read and you're praying or whatever, and then he comes through with you or comes through for you. And it's impossible to explain. And I wish for like 4 seconds people could
Experience it.
experience it.
Yeah.
Because I can argue with people anybody that knows me knows I can argue all day. But it's like if you meet this person, you know what I mean? Like it's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Christians just take stuff for granted. Because I'm assuming that this is about the good thief, you know, that died next to Jesus, and seeing yourself in that guy, you know, as the good thief, you know, because the guy's hanging on a cross himself, and you just hear these stories and you take them for granted or whatever, and a lot of Christians just take this stuff for granted, and it's like really deep, powerful stuff, man. Like it's crazy. Really, really good stuff. What was going on with you?
Well, it was extremely emotional because, well, the combination of what they were saying about, plus I was like amazed that there was like actually good, it was like good, like, because I just don't expect a whole lot from, you know, and I'm not going to go easy when I'm rating them, you know, but this was good, you know. So when the part was coming up where, well, it was explaining, you know, do you hear the wailing down? Do you hear him nailing down? Like, just that, like, the thought of, like, Jesus being crucified has always been something that has bothered me, you know, that, like, because he was so good, you know, and he was helping so many people, and, like, before I used to be like, I don't understand how come people could do that, and now I understand it. Like, it's almost the better that something is, the more people want to destroy that.
Yeah.
Because it's so different than who they are.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense now that I'm an adult. But as a child, like, I remember, like, we'd go to the fairs, and you know how there's always, like, that person that's, like, they'll stand there with, like, their signs and, like, the end of the world and, like, different stuff. Well, they had these booths, and you could, nobody was going in, nobody wanted to go. So my parents said, well, you kids go in and give them a little bit of, you know, encouragement. So we went in and, like, looked at their stuff, and we got, like, you could sign up and get these letters and stuff from them where you could do, like, these little Bible lessons, and you would get, like, points for it or something. But on there, like, there was a picture of Jesus on the cross, and I remember just sitting in my room and just, like, looking at that picture and just, like, thinking about how God, like, loves us so much that he would do that, you know? And it was such a crazy thought to me that, like, even everything bad that I've ever done, and I knew, like, I wasn't, like, the worst person in the world because, like, I was a kid. Like, I don't have the capability to do what, like, adults were doing. So, you know, just knowing that he made a way for us to be forgiven. And, like, forgiveness was, like, a big thing for me because I always felt guilty about everything. So, like, just, like, the fact that we could, I don't know. So when I was watching this video and, like, you see in the background, well, that part, you know, like, hear him nailing down, like, oh my gosh, they nailed him. And then, like, you could see the picture of, like, Jesus on the cross, and then this guy is saying, Jesus, I need you now, free me, I'm lost somehow. And, like, how many people feel like that lost feeling or that lonely feeling and all of those different things, and, like, here's Jesus on the cross. Because there's been times in my life where I'm like, I was going through the most difficult point of my adult life, and people were still coming to me to like needing stuff from me, and there was sometimes where I'm like, I'm so broken and tired, like I'm dealing with too much stuff, and like I would still help them, but inside I was like, I can't right now, you know. But like Jesus, like of all people, you know, like the entire world depended on him, you know. And so he's up on the cross, and like this guy's saying like, I need you, and like still in the middle of all of that, and like I don't know, like even in that, like if we're talking about the guy that was crucified beside Jesus, like he tells him like, today you're gonna be with me in paradise. So like he wasn't like, well, forget, you know, I'm being crucified right now, I'm not ready to deal with your problems, you know. But instead he was like still thinking about the guy beside him, and he's like, you're gonna be there with me. And just all of humanity, I don't know, like it was just the words of the song, and then the fact that, you know, if this guy, you know, wasn't a Christian and he was singing, like, if that's true that there really was a song that they made out F like a beast or something like that, and then now he's putting out this, like, it's like he was the lost one. Yeah, like he did. Yeah. So like he was the lost one, you know, and then like that was probably the cry that was in his heart, like, you know, and then Jesus helped him, you know, and brought him out of that. And like I remember like there was that do you remember that, well, I don't want to say people's names. Anyway, like, there was this girl that had come, and she was hanging around me for a while, and she was like, oh, she's like, I feel so, like, people used to say this a lot. They'd be like, oh, I feel so good and clean, like, when I'm hanging out with you, because, like, I wasn't doing, like, all kinds of crazy, we were Christians, you know, and, now that I'm an adult, like, I understand, like, when you're doing all kinds of different things that are contrary to like the goodness of, I don't know, like who God has called us to. I don't really know how to explain it. Like I know that, like you say, we're born in sin. I know that. But at the same time, like there's goodness in us that God has placed in there. And when you ignore that goodness and like you're just doing all these other things, like it doesn't have a good feeling. Like it, and like so many people would use the language like, oh, I just feel dirty a lot of times and stuff like that. And so like, I don't know, just like hearing this song and just thinking about how Jesus didn't leave us in that place, but that he made it so that way we could feel clean and we could feel found and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, it's just very emotional. Very, very emotional. And then like, as the guy is saying it, I don't know if you saw in the lyric video, but like, it's backing away from Jesus is on the cross. And you can see the man's hand is like desperate, you know? And everybody hits that desperate point, but they just, like lots of people hit that desperate point, but sometimes they don't know where to reach. And so then they'll reach to drugs, or they'll reach to alcohol, or they'll reach to, you know, a guy or a girl, or, you know, and all those things, like they just temporarily take care of that lost, empty feeling. But then in the end, it's just worse because it was like, I don't know, like you thought that it was going to be better and then it's not. And I don't know, it's just, I know the only thing that's ever fully satisfied my soul is God, you know? So when you know that, but then it sounds so cliche to say that, but like, it's the truth. Like I can't, you know, and I have I've gone through times where I'm like, I don't think that God can help me in this, like, you know what I mean? But I'm telling you, like, it's just not, I don't know.
There's a couple, like, just Good Samaritan, crazy story.
Yeah.
Prodigal Son, crazy story.
Yeah.
And the Dying Thief, I would put on that level, where it's just a ridiculously amazing story of redemption. A lot of people, I think a lot of people are familiar with it. There's Jesus crucified between two bad guys, and one guy is bad and he's mean, and then the other guy is like, you know, hey Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And what people don't realize is that at the beginning of the crucifixion, both of them were mocking him.
Right. Yeah.
It says it explicitly that both of them were mocking him, but then as time goes on and they're hanging up there, the other guy turns around and he turns to Jesus and just says, remember me when you come into your kingdom.
Right.
And then Jesus turns to the guy and says, you know, Truly, truly, I say to you, this day you'll be with me in paradise. And of course, when you're being crucified, the torture of the whole thing was that you couldn't breathe, and in order to breathe, you'd have to push against the nails to push yourself up so that you could breathe. So talking, you had to be very intentional about what you were saying. And that's why you don't see Jesus or anybody else having these long, protracted conversations, because that was the entire torture of crucifixion. And so at the beginning, this guy is pushing against the nails so that he can mock Jesus. And then as time goes on, he's pushing against the nails just to say, remember me. And it's crazy because the guy doesn't even say, save me.
Right.
He doesn't say any of that stuff because he's looking at it like, okay, I'm getting killed here. I was mocking him an hour ago. Obviously, he's not going to save me. But at minimum, can you just remember me that I was there?
Oh, really? I thought remember me meant help me.
I it could. He says, remember when you come to your kingdom, and Jesus goes, that's it, you're in. And that's why I'm very optimistic about a lot of people when they die.
Yeah.
It's because it's like that was enough.
Yep.
So I always think to myself, plane crash or whatever, and somebody's saying, man, if you're there, and I think that Jesus says, that's enough. Because I'm here, so it's just that story has always been super impactful to me because the standards, especially in our version of evangelicalism, the standard for what it really means to be saved is just so crazy. You have to know this and 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 do this and do that, and then it's like the guy's dying.
Maybe some branches of Christianity, not.
Well, the Reformed Paul Washer people, I mean, you wonder if anybody's a Christian at the end of that discussion. You know, like, okay, guy. It's like, and it's just right there. It's like, boom. And it's crazy because, the term Golgotha means place of the skull.
Yeah, I didn't understand that line.
Where?
Show me all Golgotha's mine, shadow forever night.
Remember thee this night, breathe and hear me now, oh bring me alive. Show me all Golgotha's mine, shadows forever night. Meaning, I'm looking at it like all the pain and suffering that happened on Golgotha was his, in the sense that, he deserved it. He put himself in that situation. And the idea that, that's the biggest thing, is that I think one of the most offensive parts of Christianity is to say that you're not as good as you think you are. And you're not a good person. And that's the hardest thing to accept. I
don't know. For some people, I think that some people are like, I'm a terrible person.
I agree. But there are other people like, what are you talking about? I help old ladies across the street and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people don't know the background, but the thief, it's a Greek word, lestes, and it actually means basically like jihadist, like freedom fighter. And this is a guy, because the Romans were occupying the Jewish people and were terrible to them. They crucified thousands of Jews, many of whom hadn't done anything warranting any capital punishment. And so this was a guy who, there were a group of people that were like, we're not going to take this, we're going to fight back. And so he was a guy willing to die a terrible death for the sake of his people.
Yeah.
That's how he ended up in that situation. And so when you're dying for your people in this like heroic act of self-sacrifice, it's really crazy, because Jesus is sacrificing himself, and this guy was too, but the way that he went about it was wrong.
Right. And
he had to come to terms with that at the end. That's why he says, we're being punished for he said to the other guy, we're being punished for our sins.
Yep.
We're being punished for our evil. This man has done nothing wrong. And so in those few hours, just being next to Jesus, the guy realized that he was going about trying to liberate his people the wrong way. And that he had sinned in doing that. And that's a super powerful...
That's a that's a crazy thing that's a crazy thought to start thinking when you're in that situation.
Right.
Because you'd much rather probably think like, well, at least I'm up here because I did this good. But to
Right.
actually realize that,
Right.
wait, I went about this the wrong way.
Right. Which is why they were both mocking him at the beginning.
Right.
Because they were saying, hey, at least we did something,
Yeah.
you know? So, it's a pretty crazy, it's an emotional,
Yeah.
you know, I remember, I remember thinking about that. Like, you know, we're watching this series about Tupac, you know, and Biggie and how they died and how they got cut down in the prime of their life and all this and all the things they could have done and everything. And when you grow up in Christianity, you hear over and over again, Jesus died, Jesus died, Jesus died, and then you lose the terribleness of the fact that this is what human beings did to this guy.
Uh-huh.
And you really believe that if you would have been there, you would have not been that type of a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's why one of my favorite hymns is Behold the man upon the cross, my sin upon his shoulders. Ashamed I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you know,
There's recognition.
apart from God's grace, that
You'd have been there too.
you'd have been there too. You'd have done that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, sometimes I feel like people who criticize God or Christianity like want things both ways. Like on the one hand, they're like, oh, a guy like Hitler can ask for forgiveness on his deathbed and God will save him. Yes. But then they'll say, why does God need some bloody sacrifice? Why couldn't he just say you're good? It's like, well, which do you want? Because on the one hand, you don't want a dude like Hitler going to heaven. You think that God is unjust for that. But then on the other hand, when God forgives by a bloody sacrifice, you think that God is a bloodthirsty whatever for that. Not realizing that, look, human beings have done horrible things on this planet. You know, we have done terrible things to one another. And the fact of the matter is, you can't extricate yourself from that. My tax dollars go to fund abortions. And I don't want to hear Planned Parenthood doesn't use the money for abortion. That's ridiculous. Stop. Like, we've enslaved people in this country. Like, we've done terrible things in this country. Our tax dollars go to drone the hell out of people.
Right.
In their weddings. Like, let's be real here. Like, we have done horrible evil across, and I'm saying across the planet. Like, we've done terrible things. And yes, God is like willing to forgive, but the cross tells us that no, man, like this is ugly stuff. This is ugly stuff, and that forgiveness is expensive. Like, so I love the idea of a deathbed conversion, although I think that if you wait till your deathbed, that the likelihood that you would even want to convert is very low.
Yeah.
But I love that idea, but this whole idea about just God just going, yeah, whatever, that's cool. Like, no, man. No, man, we got gas chambers, we got body parts in a petri dish, we got sex trafficking, we got kids making shoes for 5 cents a week.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of things that we need to be forgiven for, and we profit off of it. We benefit off of it, and so it's like there's got to be a reckoning for all of that. You know, tell that to the mom holding her baby as a SS soldier blows her and her little child away. That God can just willingly, oh yeah, you're good, man. That's cool. No, like there's got to be a payment for it. Period. You know, and it, you know, when you really sit and dwell on the cross and really think about the cost of what we're saying happened, that God, the Creator, came down and took that upon himself, is like, it makes me pause and be like, you know, when other people do terrible things, we want to be God. We want to be judge, jury, and executioner. We do terrible things, then we want to say, oh, God's overreacting. You know, it's like, it's always other people that are you know, it's like, it really puts you in a situation where you're like, yo, this is humanity. Like, we took the best possible person and we inflicted the worst possible torture on the best possible person.
Right.
There's your humanity. You know, and we always want to put ourselves above the people that would do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And we never learned the lessons. You know, it's like Hitler did not kill 6 million people. It was good, nice German citizens who 2 weeks before Kristallnacht would have said that they were good people.
Right.
You know, Pol Pot didn't kill all those people. Mao didn't kill all those people. Lenin didn't kill all those people. You need cooperation as a whole.
To accomplish something else.
Margaret Sanger didn't kill all those babies.
Right.
You need cooperation from nice, regular, good people. And we don't realize like the reality of the capability of evil that human beings have.
Oh no, we don't.
You know, so like we're evil. We do evil stuff. And we live in a society that normalizes really evil shit.
Yeah. I just don't think that's what this song was about, though. I don't think this is about the evil, you know, like, I think this is about a person that needs Jesus. They recognize that, and then it's just... this part, I think, when I was looking at the lyrics after, I think I misunderstood it when it was happening. Because in the song, Jesus, I need you now, show me I'm lost somehow. I read that, I think, now that I'm reading it outside of the song playing, is he's asking Jesus to show him... somehow find a way to show me how lost I am, is that kind of what he's saying? That's not what I thought when I heard the song.
Yeah, I think the guy knows he's saying I'm a leper left to hang, and there's a way from the cross from where I hang.
What do you think that line, Jesus, I need you now, show me I'm lost somehow?
I think there should be a comma right there between show me. He's saying
Okay.
show me.
Yeah, that's
comma,
how I heard-
I'm lost.
Somehow. So when the song was playing, that's how I read it, like with a comma there.
Yeah.
And I'm lost somehow was like, you know, like if you went into the woods and you got lost in the woods,
Yeah.
you'd be like, well, I came in these woods and then I got lost.
Right.
But if you were like lost and you didn't even know how you got lost, like that was what I thought he was communicating was, I'm lost, but somehow I'm lost. I don't even know how I got here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how I got so lost.
Or it could be as simple as now and somehow rhymes.
Yeah.
People do. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Tell me, am I going down? See, this is where I think, you know, he knows that when he says going down, he's talking about a bad afterlife.
Yeah.
Look, my point is, he knows that he's done enough wrong to deserve hell.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a person that understands.
But that's
that,
my point, is that, you know, this guy got to the end of his life and then came to the understanding that he's done evil to warrant hell.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't have that understanding. That's what I'm saying. Most of us have the understanding that we're generally pretty good people. And so that kind of inhibits you from having that type of relationship with God, where you would need, a lot of people wouldn't even ask that question, am I going down?
Honestly, that's so weird to me because
What's weird to you?
that people would think that they're good. If you see yourself all the time, like
Yeah.
you don't have those memories of all your past years and all the shit you did to people
Well,
or to yourself.
I think most of us just write it off as everybody makes mistakes. You don't really start thinking about evil unless you look at other people. So you look at Hitler and those Nazi Germans, those people are evil. Not realizing that, no, these are normal, everyday people.
Yeah.
Most people don't believe that they have the capacity for the type of evil that we saw in last century.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people have a very, very high view of themselves. Of course, if you've been across the world and you've been across the planet and you can see everybody's the same everywhere you go, then you go, well, no, people are capable of doing some really evil stuff. But yeah, I thought the song was great, and I think it's, you know, the recognition of your lostness and your need for God is a beautiful moment. It's just our pride keeps us from, you know. And I get people saying, you know, it's like Bart Ehrman was comparing people who denied that Jesus existed to flat earthers and people who deny the moon landing. But so there's a lot of inhibitions and things like that. But at the end of the day, to me, it just comes down to human pride. Like, we don't want to admit, things about ourselves that are not very flattering. And I'll tell you one thing: the cross and what the Bible says the cross signifies is not flattering to human beings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we could get over our defense mechanisms, we'd see that it's the ultimate act of love and acceptance from God.
Right.
And it's like, if you want to reject that, then good night.
And it makes sense too when you think about like how a parent, like I'm talking about like a normal
Healthy
parent. Yeah, a normal healthy parent will like it doesn't matter what situation, it doesn't matter what, like if Selah did like all these horrible things and somebody was gonna shoot her, I would throw myself in front of that bullet. There is no way I would, you know what I mean? Like my life is tied up in hers, and I cannot imagine like I don't want anything to happen to her. So like I just can't. I think that when you think of like, okay, if God created us, and the love that I have for Selah is not even comparable. I mean, I'm not a god, I'm a human being, so we're gonna everything that we do is flawed. We're gonna love flawed. We're gonna everything all of our best efforts are still flawed. And so like to think like, okay, so if God decides, like it's not even like decides, it's your heart does it. He's like, there's no other option here. Like, I'm gonna die for them. I'm gonna do whatever I can to save them. And you know what I mean? Like, it just makes complete sense. I mean, obviously, if you've never seen like true,
it's the
parental love, like I can see how it would be.
It's the whole dilemma with the train thing, where it's like there's 1,000 people in a train, but then there's your son in the other train, and what do you do? And without hesitation, those 1,000 people are going to have funerals for sure.
I know.
I would never,
never
give up my son for. I would empty this planet. Facts.
Yeah, I know.
So for I used to think to myself, like as a kid, I'd like, God the Father kind of, you do it, Jesus.
Oh, that's what I thought that sometimes too. I'm like, I don't know about God the Father, man. You put Jesus out like that?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, once you become a parent, then you're like,
whoa. There's this doctrine called patripassionism, which is that God the Father suffered on the cross, and a lot of it is because of modalism and super technical theological things. But I mean, golly, the love that God,
the suffering that the Father would have done
right.
when Jesus was being crucified, it's not even comparable.
Yeah. There's things that I don't talk about because they will always. I just wish people could experience it. Because like I said, I can argue all day. Everybody knows I can argue all day, but the love that I know that God has for me as a person. It's like Paul said at the end of his life. He's like, talk about his life as devoted to Christ, who loved himself and gave himself for me.
Yeah.
Just very simple.
Yeah.
But what that means is insane, and it's especially when you start having kids of your own.
Yeah. And then that passage in the, he's been my shepherd all my life long.
All my life long.
Say that one
Jacob,
again.
and he calls God to the angel who's been my shepherd my whole life long. Bless these boys,
Yeah.
There's just so many things where it's just like, to know that you're loved by God that deeply, and where Jesus says that, the Father himself loves you even as he's loved me. And
it's available to you too.
It's just crazy to me. It's a crazy. I only really dwell on that stuff when I'm by myself, because it's so powerful to me that it's a crazy thing. I remember the exact place that I was when I read that passage in John 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he says. That the world may believe that you sent them and loved them even as you have loved me. And I stopped because I didn't believe it. Because there's so much,
Yeah, that's wild.
there's so much unbelief in your heart, and it's like, and then the guy is saying like, "Are you who they say you are?"
Yeah,
and I love that
Give me a
because
reason.
I love that because there's that doubt,
Yep.
and like that's so freaking real. That's like that's what it's like, You do have these tinges of doubt, but at the same time, you have this like. I remember reading that passage and being like, "Nah, that can't be real." It was
That is a wild passage.
It was right in front of me. I was like, "Nah," and I had to really like wrestle with God about that passage. I'm like, because it makes complete sense for God the Father to love Jesus. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, of course, but me like that, because I always thought
In that way.
that God like tolerated us. Like that was my idea. It was like God the Father's up there and he wants to kill us all. Jesus is like, "Hey man, I got an idea. I'll go die for their sins." And God's like, "Okay, fine, whatever." And then God's like, "Well, I guess I gotta let you in because he died for you. So come in and stay over there." And like that was my mentality, and I was good with that. I'm like, "Hey, it's a good deal." And then like when I really, really read what God was actually saying, I was like, "Nah." Like what?
Pretty wild.
Yeah. And everybody's heard John 3:16 and nobody knows what it means. Like, it's crazy. But I just wish, and this is like one of the major things that I do not understand about God. Like, I don't understand why he just doesn't, because I'm fully convinced that people had 4 seconds of what this all means. Like, that would be it.
You're contradicting what you've said in other things.
What do you mean?
Because people will be like, God knows what I need to see to believe. And then you'll be like, well.
No, what they're talking about is patterns of evidence. The people are talking about, oh, if I had evidence, blah, blah, blah. They're looking at like a sign. They want God to put something in a petri dish for them. Like, I've literally had people say that to me. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the experience. I'm talking about spirit to spirit, beyond the cognitive, whatever. Like this whole thing where people want God to put something in a petri dish. Like, give me something scientifically measurable. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Like, then I'd believe. No, you wouldn't. You just count it to scientific phenomena. What I'm talking about is like just 4 seconds of like what happens in your spirit when that connection happens.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I'm talking about. 4 seconds of that. And I'm fully convinced that would be, and I don't understand why.
The realest thing you'll ever experience in your life.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. But that is the thing. It's like, it's realer than the people next to you. Like, it's like you're coming into like face to face with ultimate reality. Ultimate.
Yeah.
And it's and you literally have no words for it. And I'm so frustrated because I have no words for it. And words are important to me, but there's nothing like it. And it's crazy. I don't understand why everybody doesn't have. I don't know. Because there have been times when I've been like out of nowhere and then bang, So it's like it happened in the song, Christian song, whatever. So anyway, good song.
There was one other thing. Where's the eclipse part?
Said something about an eclipse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where did they say that? I can't find it because my computer's so. But go ahead. What about the eclipse?
I needed to read it because I mean, what I got from it
was what?
Well, just remember when Jesus was dying, and then like everything, like the elements like were changing, like the environment and stuff was changing.
Yeah.
And it was just another one of those moments where it's like, he created everything, and by his word all things hold together and stuff like that, the scripture says, and like you're crucifying that one on the cross, and then even the world itself is like, because it was made by him and held together by him, even that begins to be changed, you know what I mean? And then I was thinking about that verse that talks about creation itself is waiting for when everything is going to be made right again.
Right.
Because right now there's so much that's wrong, and that's why you see, like, we saw that. I said, what the heck? There was a video of a zebra drowning another zebra, and it was like so crazy to see like animals participating. I didn't watch it either. I just saw the beginning thing there. Sweat like blood comes down, eclipse a shadow now. The sun is gone and sorrows come where it slithers from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the sun is gone, and like from where the sun used to, sorrow is now coming, and the shadows, and they uses the word slithers, and it was just, I just thought that it was so well done.
Yeah. But it's also one of the songs that a guy like this in an 80s band that had sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever you want to call it, like, and you've done a lot of dirt, and then you get that, like, you have an entirely
Right.
clean record.
Right.
Nothing you do will be held against you.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody, and he was talking about how horrible God was, and I was like, he was talking about hell, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, he's like, if God basically blackmails you, because if you don't do what he wants you to do, he sends you to hell. I'm like, family, if you go before a judge, and the judge also was the guy who founded a city, and you went around and destroyed everything in this guy's city, and killed a bunch of people, and you deserve the death penalty, and the judge says, I will commute your sentence if you come live in my house and sleep in the room of the son that you murdered, and wear his clothes and sit in his place at the table.
Oh my gosh.
If you do that, I'll commute your sentence. If you look at that judge and say, screw you, then you wanted, that's God. Like, that's the crazy thing to me, is like, that's what the gospel is. It's like,
Right.
I will commute your sentence. You will be adopted in my family, even though you hated my guts and devoted your entire life to destroying everything
Right.
that I've built. Like, it's
Nope, I'd rather live on the street.
it's so crazy to me how, but again, that's one of those things where you have to experience God and really know who he is, because a lot of people have a
Right.
perception that God is just like, it's you failed on a multiple choice quiz, you're out of here.
Right.
So we don't know how bad we are, and we don't know how good God is. So like the cross isn't beautiful, you know. But a guy like this who knows he's done dirt,
Gets it.
he gets it.
Yep.
That's why I always say, like, Christianity is for sinners. It's not for good people. You know, you got a lot of really good people. You know, I was listening to a guy today. He was talking about how good of a person he is. He takes care of animals and all this. I'm glad you take care of animals. You still need redemption. Anyway.
Yeah, I was reading a comment thread, and people were talking about how God punishes, and, oh, well, you know, why doesn't God do this, and why doesn't God do that? And then one person was saying, if I was God, I would just make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I started typing, but I don't think that I sent the message, because I generally don't go back after I've put one message, and so it's kind of, I'm always doing like these drive-bys, and like it was kind of too intense for a drive-by, I thought.
Right.
But you know, I started saying like, you can't, and it was a lot to say too. You can't make everybody happy. If there's a criminal that murdered somebody, and they murdered your mom, you know, you can't just let the murderer go off scot-free and say, yeah, come on right into heaven. And then the victim is sitting there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't make everybody happy. That's why there's justice.
It's gotta be.
You know, there's gotta be justice.
But that's the same, yeah.
So.
Anyway, love the song. What do you give it?
10,
Obviously.
11, 1500. It's like off the charts for me. Like,
Is this your first 11?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I could do an 11 because it's not corny and it's very real.
Yep.
And it's
Lyrically,
really,
it was
really
good.
from the heart from this guy
And
too.
it wasn't like just like these short little lyrics, and like, and it didn't seem like it. You know what it was? It didn't seem like he was trying to make a song sound Christian. It sounded like he was just trying to put his heart into a song, and it was Christian because he was.
Well, we've been blessed to be able to see a lot of new Christians.
Yeah.
So I've seen this.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen this with people. You know, not as articulate as that, obviously, but I've seen the same.
Oh my gosh! Remember when they used to make their raps and all the different things?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And we were dealing with gutter hood people.
Yeah.
That our overarching society had thrown away, so they knew that they were
stage fright people.
Yeah.
And everything, but they would get up
they'd
there
get up
because
there, and that's what they
God
had.
put something in their heart, and that's right. I forgot about this.
But they were so grateful.
It
They
was-
wanted to,
Yeah.
you know, express that
Oh my
about
word.
what God had done for them. And,
That was really special. It happened a lot too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I recognize that
Yeah.
attitude.
Yep.
You know, like from people
I'd agree with that.
people who've been in the gutter,
Yep.
and people who, you know, because metal, you know, rock stars are kind of in the gutter in the sense of people have a stereotype of them and then they live it.
Yep.
And they have to project to the outside world that they're living the life, and inside they feel horrible about everything that they're doing. You know,
Yep.
so I recognize that attitude.
Yeah.
So, shout out to the big homie. All right, love y'all. Vin out,
Sorry out.
gone.